Hello everyone and welcome to the channel and a happy new year. For the new year we are venturing into a new medium and some new type of content for me and just a new adventure. So this year I will be teaching myself how to use pastel pencils and I will be taking you along with me on this journey. So that's kind of the broad idea for the year, working my skills up to complete full-on portraits. So we will be starting out with focused studies and all of that, and basically me following my own advice that I would give someone if I was teaching them how to use graphite pencils. I will be applying all of that to myself for teaching myself how to use pastel pencils. So I got gifted a set of Caran D'ache pastel pencils. It's a set of 36, as well as Pastelmat, Clairefontaine's Pastelmat. And I also bought myself a set of 24 of pastel sticks from Koh-I-Noor. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And that was about a year ago. And obviously in between, we've got large graphite pencil projects that I got stuck into. And this year I finally decided it's time to finally put in the work and actually get this ball rolling and start to teach myself how to use this actually wonderful medium. So the reason I decided pastel pencils was the medium I would like to use when venturing into color is just the basic similarities in the process that I would be using if it was graphite pencils. So the blending and the layering is very akin to the graphite pencils, and it's very much just the way I like to do it. You would see through the entire study, I just love blending the pastel pencil. It's really fun. It's a habit at this point, and it's just basically part of my drawing personality. And it's one of the reasons I chose the pastel pencils is merely because of that quality. And also I like the way everything looks at the end. From the people that I follow that are pastel pencil artists, I just love the quality of the art and the end results that they achieve. So for this study, I decided, following my own advice, what would I tell someone? What type of reference would I recommend to someone that's starting out with graphite pencil? And that would very much be something like this, where there are no details, no discernible details, there's no real texture. It's just a study on how to blend and layer and create contrast and build up the values. So this is a fabric. I think fabrics are one of those wonderful things to draw in life or from reference that just teaches you how to use your values, building them up, building up the contrast, the highlights, the folds, the soft blends, and all of that. So that's very much how I would go about teaching someone graphite pencil, and I said, okay, I'm teaching myself a new medium, I will do the exact same thing. So I picked up this reference. It's beautiful, it's got all the folds and the deep recesses and everything like that. And it's just, there's no worries about texture or anything. So it's bare basics, really. And that's one of the reasons why this is the first study that I will be using myself to teach myself how to use pastel pencils. So with any new medium or any new venture, you're kind of tentative to start. You would see that the application is not as confident, and by the end of the study, which is about an hour real time, it's a much more quicker application, broader strokes that are used, much more confident with the colors that are being used. And that's just very much just me getting comfortable with the whole process. And obviously I have to put in more brain power to figure out what colors I have to use, because that's a whole different thing. Obviously with graphite pencils, you still have to use a range to create unique values that don't exist within that range. It just elevates your realism to something else, and it's something that you pick up along the way, what pencils to layer on top of one another and how to blend them to create those unique values. And color is not very dissimilar in that fact. I think the most overwhelming thing of using pastel pencils or any color medium is the actual range of colors. The warm tones, the cool tones. I mean, in graphite pencil, you don't have to worry about warm tones or cool tones. and all the shades in between. It's what I like about it. It's very simple in its methods and how to create realism. So this obviously, with the pencils, graphite pencils, it's a much more automatic process with the whole building of values, because it's kind of ingrained in me now. I've been doing it for 13 years. So the colors brings a whole different set of skills that you need to be thinking about. Okay, you see this is now blue fabric, but what other type of nuances in the fabrics do you see in the highlights and in the shadows? It obviously will change to warm tone or cool tone, but there is still a sense of, with something like the fabric, of being able to loosely draw what you see. It doesn't have to be that exact. It's not a face or anything like that. There's no anatomy involved, so you can be a bit more fluid in your application. And that's why this is also a wonderful reference, because if you make mistakes, it's not going to be that terrible. It's not going to look as bad. You might say at the end of the day, okay, I could have gone deeper with my values, or maybe the colors are a bit off, but overall the effect is there, and the blends are there, and there are some semblance of contrast and fluidity, and everything is seamless in between. So after this study, if I was to say, okay, graphite pencil, if I was a beginner, how would I teach them then after this? We might do something similar to this, move on to metals, work a bit on starker contrast. So obviously with the fabric, everything blends in beautifully and it's soft. So if you would go to the complete opposite, such as metal or any reflective type of surface, there's much more harsher lines involved, and it's obviously a much starker contrast between your highlights and your shadows. And then from there you can move on to textures. So as an animal artist, it will obviously be fur. So if I was starting out with a basic tutorial, it would be short fur, uniform color, a flat-ish surface, some semblance of a contour here and there just to help with the highlights and the shadows. And then from there you use that with different colors, maybe add in some spots, move it around to different areas of the animal with different contours, more contours, highlights and shadows, and musculature and so forth. And then obviously from the short fur, you'll get longer fur or manes and so forth, or anything like furry ears, whiskers. And then we'd move on to more basic textures like the noses, and even eyes would be a very good place to start before fur, because you've already done the fabrics and the metals, the stark contrasts and the highlights to see if you can put some life into something that you're drawing and actually be able to draw something with a very discernible structure, and so forth. So that's kind of the thought process, and that's how I will be approaching this whole teaching myself business. And those are the types of studies you'll be able to expect from me over the coming year with this whole series. And definitely focused tutorials. It won't be anything full portraiture. It won't be anything that involves backgrounds, none of the sorts. It would be just focused entirely on the textures and being able to build up the values correctly so that the textures and the details make sense on top of that. So hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be able to do a full-on portrait of whatever animal of my choosing. And obviously when I do that, that will be something that's extremely simple, no overabundance of different types of textures. So for instance, if I was to draw a horse, it would be a horse without a halter or a bridle or anything like that. Just keeping it simple, the face as is. And then from there, you'll add more textures like the halter. It's more simple than the bridle, because obviously learning how to do the medium also needs you to learn how to do the details in smaller areas and how to build up details in a very small area or very busy area. And that's something obviously that will come with time. So going full portraiture will still follow my own advice and use simple references and then build up from there. So just kind of an update then on the graphite pencil side of things. Pastel absolutely will not be taking over graphite pencil's place in my heart. It's still, after the 3 big projects that I'm currently busy with, and obviously I still need to complete them, so those videos will still be coming your way this entire year. There are plenty of other large projects for my graphite pencil that is floating around in my mind and things that I need to get down on paper. So graphite pencil is definitely something that will be still a major focus in my life, the major reprieve. It's obviously 13 years of my life to the medium. It's not something that's going to go away. And I have a big project in the works for this year. So that's kind of the reason the pastel pencils will take a bit more of a forefront with the shorter, more tutorial type. So the plan with the graphite pencils is this year I've started 2 years ago with an ebook. I never got around to even remotely finishing it, but the bare bones are there, and it's something I really want to pay attention to this year and actually finish. And this will be something very akin to what I'm doing with the pastel pencils. So there's quite a few ebooks that are obviously floating around in my mind that I want to create a series of them for graphite pencil. And the different stages and things in between. So this first ebook will definitely be just, the basics and things like that. But obviously I would need the time to create all those drawings and film everything, because I want to fill them. It's a nice thing to have, to also be able to see what's being done, and obviously all the photos and the editing and everything in between. So that's a big project for me for this year. And it's something that I definitely want to complete. I don't think I'm putting my hopes up, but it's not something I would say would definitely be completed by the end of this year, but something definitely in the works. I might have a flurry of motivation somewhere along the line and actually complete it a lot quicker. So that's definitely the big project for me this year, obviously along with all the other drawings that I'm doing. But those are something personal projects, and I do love to take my time with my personal projects. There's really nothing that's hastening up any of the processes or any of the drawings that needs to be done. So hopefully you're not sick of them yet, because there's still a lot of work to do with all of them. But this pastel pencil kind of series would be a nice reprieve in between all the very heavily detailed longer videos, and something just fun. So I'm not labeling these as tutorials as such, but I'm definitely one of those people that learn from just purely watching. I don't need any explanation. Sometimes you see something cool that someone does on a video. I'm just very much just a watcher of things. I'm very self-taught in my graphite pencils. Didn't watch any tutorials or things like that. So that's why I'm taking this approach with the pastel pencils as well. Didn't watch any tutorials, haven't really watched any long form content that involves it, but have been following pastel pencil artists for a very long time and do love the work and love seeing the process. So this is merely a hobby. It's something for me for fun. So if you also kind of learn that way with just watching and listening me ramble about trial and error, because I think there's a lot to learn from trial and error, and also watching someone work their way through something new and work through a problem. So there will definitely be sticking points with certain textures and certain colors or values and things like that, and I think it's very valuable to be able to learn not only for yourself but from someone else how they manage to figure out a problem, or work their way through a new texture, how they break it down into its basics. So I'm not labeling this as a tutorial, but it's definitely going to be a tutorial for myself. So, and I will definitely be sharing obviously the process and the thought process behind why I would do certain things, and then in the end, whether or not I would change the way I approached it. And obviously, that might just happen automatically from one study to another, which is completely normal. It happens. You don't learn anything by not doing it. And trial and error is still a very good learning process. So I'm very excited for this new little series and everything actually that pertains to art for the year. So hopefully you enjoy the journey and are more than welcome to come along for the ride, because I will be posting the materials down in the description box as well as the reference. So I've already put up what pencils I use, the colors. I will also just put them in the description box as well. So you're more than welcome to follow along and maybe teach yourself something new in the process. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys next time.